All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. And I've got technical difficulties right off the rip today. I have the wrong soundboard up on my Rode Podcaster. So no intro music today. Sorry about that. But we are really late today. It's been a crazy, as you can see, the sun's pretty much set behind me. And we're talking today. This isn't going to be a real PMA involved type video. It's more because I'm just getting a little if you haven't been tuning into the propaganda that is on TV or looking at other sources, alternate sources, then you probably don't really know what I'm going to be talking about today. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But let's take care of some housekeeping first. I'm all over the place today because, yeah, it's just been one of those days. But we got coffee, so that's good. And as always, this doesn't constitute tax, legal advice, or anything else that would be remotely viewed as that. It's just one person's thought on the topic at hand. And as always, if you like the content that you're seeing here or listening to, if you're listening to the podcast version after we go live, feel free to support us by going over the East Coast PMA. There's a whole bunch of sponsorish stuff on the side that you can use. And there's also more content on there and DIY templates. That's also available at East Coast PMA and themanifesto.com. The ladies that I work with over there, debunking myths about PMAs. You can get the PMA manifesto over there. You can also get DIY templates, and you can get the DIY templates on East Coast PMA. And as I always say, if you are like me and you're trying to live a more free life and less intrusion from three-letter agencies and governments in general, then you want to take back your computer sovereignty also, and you want to head over to Start9 and pick up one of their systems over there. Or if you're real handy, you can download the code yourself and upload it to an old computer you got sitting in the basement and run your own Start9 server that way. So there's a few different ways of doing it, but whichever route you go, if you do buy one of their systems, make sure you use Rebel Alliance as the discount code and get 9% off that purchase, which is a huge savings. I wish I had that available when I bought mine. So that being said, I'm going to turn on the comments here. If you have a comment, if you want to talk about associations in general, feel free to fire away or anything else. Today is going to be a little bit of a spicy topic. I'm probably going to get banned or at least put in YouTube jail for this one because I am talking about some stuff that's going on in the news, and it's just kind of ridiculous about what's going on here. And, you know, let's see, where do I want to start? So Okay, so some of the top stories, and I guess this is just kind of like the downfall or the collapse of the US. So this is not the US I grew up in. This is not the US I defended as uh yeah, you're pretty much on point with that one. I just threw that up there from Gateway Strength and Conditioning and talking about the illegals. We are going to be talking about the border crossing a little bit. We're going to be talking about how the defense secretary has been in the hospital since January 1. Nobody supposedly knew about it. Nobody's talking to anybody. It's like the train has come off the tracks with uh these clowns in the White House and how things are being run. I mean, if there's an attack or if there's something going on, he's supposed to be in the war room right away and advising. He carries the codes to the launch pads for nukes and everything else. And being that his number two wasn't even informed and they were on vacation, like it's just a mess. And it's just, when I think about growing up in this country, defending this country, and I was in the Air Force, it's just, not only were things simpler, like I wish we didn't have to deal with dial-up growing up, and getting kicked off of AOL when somebody picked up the phone. I do appreciate some of the technologies that we have today, but I don't appreciate how we have been infiltrated from the inside of our own republic. And it just, the more that I think you read about the founding fathers and some of their writings, and not even some of the non-popular ones, and don't ask me who they are off the top of my head. I have them written down. I can't think of them right now, just because my mind's going a mile a minute. But some of their writings still stand true to today. I mean, even if you read like George Washington's farewell address, and he tells us to mind our own damn business and not get into the affairs of others, we should probably take that advice. So Not only do we have Lloyd Austin here, the defense secretary, who had cancer, prostate cancer, apparently, he was under major surgery, was incapacitated probably for the most part. This is the guy that has, like, a real big responsibility for defending the US and deployment of troops and everything like that. So we have that going on, right? So we have that disconnect, that breakdown within our own federal government where nobody knows what the hell anybody is doing. And let me just send this phone call to voicemail. And so there's that, right? Like, that's already a big enough story in itself, that we have this complete collapse of our federal government and nobody knows what anybody's got going on. And unless somebody from the New World Order or BlackRock or any of these other World Economic Forum tells the puppet in there what to do, then nothing is getting done. And I really don't care if I get banned today. That's just the way I'm feeling. It's just one of those spicy Thursdays, I guess. So not only do we have that, but we also have U.S. intelligence reporter reportedly fears Hezbollah could attack America. Now, we know that the southern border is completely blown wide open, right? We don't even have a country right now. Like, most countries have walls and they keep people out and they have a certain way of coming in. And, look at anywhere else in the world. Like, we're sending a bajillion dollars over to Ukraine to defend their borders and selling surplus ammo, or what we have left of ammo, because we're not creating enough of it, drones, bombs, and everything else. But yet we're not securing our own border here in the United States. And we're sending a crap ton of money over there of our hard earned taxpayer dollars to fund this crap. Now, granted, depending on where you sit with, if the dollar is really a dollar, or it's worthless, or it's just a debt or what have you. Let's try to put that aside, and that it's fiat currency. The fact that we're adding trillions of dollars to our debt, my kids are probably never going to pay that off, right? So now that we have this border wide open, letting everybody and their brother and sister come through, and it's not like it's women and children fleeing a country. You have middle-aged males coming in. And when we were in Afghanistan and when we were in Kuwait, that's what we were looking for. Your mams, your middle-aged males that are the ones that can set up cells, sleeper cells, that can cause major disasters, that can attack, at a moment's notice, and they're really hard to track. So now we have, and if you just go and if you have a Start9 embassy server, you're probably going to have a better search result than if you go to Google or something like that. But when I go over to mine, police news. Okay. Anyways, sorry about that. Just text message. If you go in and you just type in number of military aged males crossing the border, you're going to see everything from Fox News all the way down to New York Post to CNN to Yahoo News. And the amount that are crossing is astonishing. And not only is it Hezbollah individuals, terrorists, known terrorists that have been caught at the border coming across, but you also have Chinese military personnel coming across the border, and I kind of start thinking about, like, the Man in the High Tower. If you've ever watched that episode or that series, it's kind of like what's going on right now. And so I just find it very difficult that we're sending all this money all these other places. People are, governments are more worried about Amos Miller selling his milk to his neighbor or to somebody in Kansas City because they want unpasteurized whole milk, but nobody's worried about what's going on at the border. Now, I probably wouldn't have as much issue with it if it was actually women and children coming across, and not children being trafficking or sex trafficked or anything like that, which is what's happening. But, people actually fleeing a war-torn country or state or whatever it is that they're leaving from. Like, hey, it's bad here. And the men stay back to fight the war, but they get the women and children out to hopefully keep those bloodlines going. That's not what's happening. You have people being trafficked coming across the border. There's thousands of kids that nobody has any idea where they went to. You have these middle-aged males coming across, and now you've got reports from U.S. intelligence saying that they fear an attack on American soil. Now, whether you think 9/11 was an inside job or not, maybe, or McFay with the bombing, was a stage thing. Regardless, our borders are wide open. Texas tries to put up stuff, the federal government military come and take it down, or they sue the governor of Texas over putting up border stuff. I mean, that is how ass backwards we are as a country right now, and why things are in such a decline. I do real estate here in Connecticut. Some of you might know that the housing market is ridiculous. There is zero inventory. Prices are still pretty high, and you have towns talking about trying to build an economic diverse economy by bringing in low income housing. Well, if you are bringing low income houses, let's say the house costs 100,000 and you've got somebody working at Dunkin' Donuts, they're not going to probably be able to afford that house. And that's because, well, one, the dollar's worthless. And two, people got so used to sitting at home and getting paid that they don't want to go to work. So anyways, kind of all over the place today. I apologize. Tomorrow will be more of a normal show and back to the PMA stuff. And I guess looking at all this stuff, it just gets worse. Now, if I'm in Connecticut, so if you head on down about maybe a 2 to 3 hour drive into New York, you come across the good old what was it? There were 2,000 illegal aliens that were bussed into a high school in New York City. It was Jefferson something, James Madison High School. So these kids that go to this school that had to get vaccinated, that had to jump through all these hoops to go to school during the pandemic, now were kicked out of their own school, mind you, their own school, because illegal immigrants were being bussed up here. And I know people are like, oh, it's great. They're bussing them up to all these sanctuary cities. How about you bust their asses back across the border? Because all you're doing is facilitating what's going on at the border by bringing them anywhere else. You're not actually taking care of the problem. Right. And I have no problem with people coming into this country, but do it the right way. What about the guy who spent years coming in the right way, or the family that spent years going through the proper channels and doing everything and coming in? We have no idea who these people are. We have no idea. Let's talk about communicable diseases that they're bringing. And these poor kids were told, hey, get out of school, stay home tomorrow, and get online and do some Zoom training, which is a joke. If any of you had kids in the public school system during the pandemic, you'll know what of a joke that was and how kids didn't learn stuff. And anyways, so now these poor kids had to say, kick rocks, because these 2,000 illegal immigrants that are getting dropped off in the state of New York have to go into the gym because it's going to be raining outside and there could be possible flooding. It's absolutely insane what is going on in this country right now. And I just, I, it's just nuts. It's nuts when you look at this stuff. So I am more concerned about the fact that, we have the U.S. intelligence agency now coming out saying that, there could be Hezbollah attacks in America, or these sleeper cells are being established by all these middle-aged males coming in. And, we're more concerned about the Ukraine border than we are our own. And I think that's a huge problem. So how do I tie this all into associations? And I guess this is how I tie this all in. We have Liberty House here in Connecticut. We have a strong group of, let's see, the People's Herbalist is, hey, Aaron, good to see you today. I'm not driving today, so I can say that New York school being invaded is BS. Yes, I agree with you 100%. And it's absolutely, it's just insane that has to happen. And, I don't know how many of you that are on or listen to this in the replay get involved at your local level. Like every month, if I can't get to the town meeting, I listen to it on their YouTube channel. And some of the stuff that's being pushed at these town meetings, it's insane. And you need to get there. You need to be involved. You need to speak up. I don't care if you go, I'm going to get definitely banned for this one. I don't care if you go over to Alex Jones Infowar and print out some of his news stories in there and go in there and talk about it for your 5 minutes that you have. But this information and us rolling over like a beaten dog needs to stop. And we need to start at the local level and really start saying, no, this is not okay. For example, my town that I'm in, they had almost an hour discussion at their town meeting. Mind you, these are the elected officials, the mayor and everybody else. And they had a discussion about the word urban or rural character. They did not like the word rural character in their goals for 2024, 2025, because it segregates certain people, and other towns use that to keep people out. And we need to be, listen, we're a college town. We have UConn here. We are a rural town. I don't know how else to put it. We're not in the suburbs. We're not urban. We have farms. We have dirt roads. Like, I don't, it's just absolutely insane. It's yeah. And I've got some some people chiming in here. I'll put these up in a little bit when I just get through my final thought, my thoughts here, because I don't want to keep getting sidetracked. But anyway, so like it does start all at the local level, and then we have to work up, and we need to be more active in our local communities and going to the board of ed meetings, going to the environmental meetings, going to the regular town council meetings and everything else, and taking your 5 minutes at each of these meetings and letting your voice be heard. And it amazes me how many times that I've gone to the town meetings and I might be the only one there, and maybe one other person, unless it has to do with some ridiculous bike lane path thing, then everybody shows up, right? Again, I think people's their when it comes to local politics, people just, it's out of sight, out of mind. I think more people need to show up. So, how do I tie this all in with associations? So, my biggest thing with associations here in Connecticut and reaching all of you that get online and spend your afternoon or evening with me, apparently today we're doing this in the evening because I was running around, is the fact that we need to build our communities up, and we need to know who our neighbors are. We need to know that there's people we can rely on. Like I said, I'm in a rural area, and there's probably a good 4 or 5 acres between me and my neighbor, depending on which neighbor you're looking at. So, like in the summertime, when the leaves are off on the trees, I can't see my neighbors, and I'm happy with that. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind it. And then there's other more, neighborhoods, stuff like that in the area. But most people don't know who their neighbors are. My neighbor was out doing some yard work. We had just moved in. We were still moving. I walked over and introduced myself. Hey, man, what's going on? I'm your new neighbor. So what I like about associations is getting an association set up where you can prepare for everything and anything under the sun. And as I've gotten older, my mindset has turned more to preparedness. As I got out of the military, I thought I was prepared, and then I realized I didn't have enough toilet paper in my house at one point. So you kind of learn from these experiences. And if we have to worry about Hezbollah attacking the US because these middle-aged males are coming through, if stuff does go down somewhere, or there is, I hate to be all doom and gloom, but we as a failing nation, there got movies about civil wars coming out and everything like that. Let's say something does go completely sideways. I want to know, you're not going to survive long as a lone wolf. You need to have your community. And if I have my local association where we've been planning, we've been prepping, we've been doing stuff, we've been teaching each other new life skills, whether it's chainsaw sharpening or how to start a fire in the rain, whatever it is, I think that's where the associations are really going to pull together, and you're really going to see your local communities build up. And then maybe, you're in a couple different towns, and then your association gets together and goes to one town's town council meeting and speaks up, and then everybody takes their 5 minutes and talks, and then they do that in another town and another town. You start making your voices heard, because all these are recorded and they're put on YouTube. So in most towns, so you can get the news out there, and then make clips of that and share it places of you and your group talking and doing everything as peacefully assembling for your common goals. And I think that the next, what are we at, less than 300 days to the election. Not that I have a lot of hope in it actually being a fair election. We saw what the last one was like. But get out there. We did, we had a group of guys get out. We watched the ballots in the mailboxes and stuff like that for drop off stuff in our local towns where everybody was getting together for polling. And we made sure we were taking photos of stuff and making sure stuff was done correctly. And we had another section of the state, they were set up with like a war room, so information could come in and get pushed out to attorneys if we saw anything that was suspect, or sus, as my kids put it. But I think there's that's going to be really getting that stuff together is going to be really important. And then when I was talking yesterday, I think it was yesterday, about 10 US code 246 talks about the militia in the country. Well, that it's they have to be at least 17 years of age, and under 45 is considered our militia. And if you're not part of the National Guard or something like that, then you as an American are considered the militia. So definitely take a look at that if you want to see what I was talking about the other day. But I think this is where we're going to see the associations start to help locally, is by getting them set up, by running them properly, by getting like-minded people together, and really starting to make our voices heard, in a peaceful and respectful manner, so to speak. So let me see what we got here. We also have, the politicians are stealing our substance like weevils in a bag of grain. Yep, that is true. And we also have another one here by Gateway Strength and Conditioning. Never see it until something catastrophic happens. And Yep, I agree with that also. Uh, yeah, this is a good gateway strengthening more like quartering a foreign army. Yeah, that's kind of what's happening. We may not be housing redcoats right now, but we are housing others from other countries coming in and, you know, walking right across that border. And Texas tries, and then the federal government just sues them for putting up buoys in the river and setting up, what was it, the it wasn't even concertina wire, it was razor wire. And they said it does not keep illegals out, but it's dangerous to the border patrol. I've got 8 months left in my law enforcement career working in the prison system here in Connecticut. And let me tell you, every prison that I've ever been at has razor wire on the top, and it keeps people from getting in and it keeps people from getting out. And that statement alone that the White House press secretary made was just ridiculous. And this is what I mean when I titled this today, The Collapse of the US and, factors leading to a falling nation. Like I said, the train is off the rails. We have people that have no idea what's going on. We don't even know when, people don't even know when somebody goes in the hospital for major surgery, and he controls the nuke codes and he has to be in the war rooms for when stuff kicks off. And this guy's incapacitated in a bed, and his number two is on vacation. I think the number three person was on vacation too. And I don't want to rant and rave today, but I just, kind of just like reading all this stuff and then, thinking about, September 11th and all the lives that were lost there and everything. And, like I said, whether you think it was an inside job or not, the people did perish, and lots of people died, and we went to war over it. And then more people died, and people lost limbs, and, with IEDs and everything else overseas. And we've been fighting a war nonstop. Like the war machine, the industrial war complex must be very happy with how we've been doing things, because we've just been spending money. And, we had 4 years of like no fighting, and for the most part, or no new wars, I should say. And that was when Trump was in office. But to say that the US intelligence is coming out and saying, hey, listen, these attacks could happen on our own soil, I would highly suggest, if you are not afraid of firearms, go get your certification, whatever that might look like for you, whether it's a Utah permit where it's good in a bunch of different states. Maybe you're retired military and you have um, one of the retired military permits, HR 250. No, that's not it. I can't think of what it's called now. To where you can travel in all 50 states with your firearm, or just getting your local NRA certification and preparing yourself, because the last thing you want to do is be caught with your pants down if something should happen wherever you're at, whether it's an active shooter or Hezbollah decides to have all these cells and get up and running and start causing problems. But yeah, it's a scary world. It's scary to, and I don't watch like the news usually on the background, or I just watch it to see for talking points for the podcast and stuff, or to get people fired up at work, because I love talking politics and really poking the bear. Sometimes I got a few people that I like to get fired up. And that being said, I don't watch it all the time, but certain things you got to pick out. And when you have U.S. intelligence coming out saying, "Hey, listen, um, there's a chance this could happen," or when you see a very high positioned person within our federal government disappears and nobody knows that somebody knew. I mean, the security details knew, the transportation that got him there to Walter Reed knew, how the president Biden didn't know, or the number twos and threes under the defense secretary of defense didn't know is beyond me. And and I guess I really, I wasn't ever going to bring anything like this up, but then when I saw this nonsense in New York and these 2,000 illegal aliens come in, and these, now you're affecting the kids, and that's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with people who pick on others that can't defend themselves, people who abuse animals, and then people who abuse kids and women. And when you start basically telling these kids, hey, you don't need an education today. Granted, it's one day, right? Could have been a snow day or anything like that. But it's, that's a different situation. That's God. We can't control what God does with the weather, right? Or the higher being, the great architect, whatever you want to call it, or him. And it's you're now telling these kids, hey, piss off. We've got people that have don't need a vaccination, come right across the border. Nobody's telling them they have to get vaccinated. Nobody's checking them medically. And they're just saying, hey, come on in this school and live in the gym. And who knows what if they decide, hey, guess what? There's 2,000 of us. We're not leaving. This is our building now. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to have a standoff with illegal aliens and have have a shootout with them because you're trying to get them out of the school or whatever. Like, there's just so much that could have gone wrong with this. And yeah, it's just frustrating. I guess I'm a little frustrated today. But I think if we really start understanding our right of association and start banding together with others that share that common goal, whether it's, I always use like homesteading and stuff like that, but maybe it's being a little bit more politically active and you get together and you say, okay, what do we not like that's going on in this town? And let's try to run somebody for office. Let's go get a bunch of people to vote a certain way. And there's all these things you can do. And I've got to find that podcast I listened to where the guy that was talking about, I can't think of it off the top of my head, and I don't have my phone near me, so I don't have it. But I'll put that up on, I keep saying I'm going to put that up on East Coast PMA. I'll put that up there so you can listen to it. It's very interesting what they were able to do with a couple small churches in one town and how they were able to get all the transgender and drag queen storytime stuff pushed out of their town because of what they did. So that being said, we're at 25 minutes today. I didn't want to rant and rave like this too much. I just wanted to kind of bring some awareness to it as far as what's been going on in the world. And, when I see intelligent stuff come up and, we used to get briefings all the time. We used to have our S4 come out and give intel briefings. And when we were ever going anywhere or going overseas or even local threats and stuff like that, like there are local threats. You guys just don't know about it because it's not put out there through the intelligence agencies. So, just keep your head on a swivel, and keep an eye out for one another and make sure, if you have a group of individuals that share your common goals, get that association set up. Like I said before, you don't have to get the DIY templates if you don't want to. You don't have to schedule a time with me as a consultant to get your documents. You can grab a piece of paper and write down your bylaws, articles of organization, your membership agreement yourself, but I think we just need to start coming together more, and if you think about after September 11th, there was no racism. There was nothing. It was just, you were an American and everybody was coming together and everybody was giving high fives and how you doing and how far we've been divided as a country. And, the constant race war stuff and the constant trying to separate us as Americans, I think is pretty sad. And then the powers to be are doing a great job at doing it. So I think we really need to start coming together more within our associations. Maybe you meet twice a month, maybe you meet monthly, maybe you guys get together and go to town hall meetings and let your voices be heard. You get most cases, I think it's 5 minutes, take those 5 minutes, come in with some written statements and, let them have it. Let them know that we're here and let them know that, we're not going to watch the country that we grew up in just continue to fail as a nation. And it's sad, but just wanted to bring that awareness to you. I found that really ridiculous about the 2,000 illegal immigrants or aliens, however you like to put it, in the New York schools, and that the number of military age male crossings and Chinese military personnel across the southern border is on the rise. I think it's at like 10 million people that have come across. I could be wrong on that number, since they were told to flood and rush the border. But, according to the clowns in the People's White House, they have everything under control. So just be safe out there. I do take it serious when I see something come out, where they talk about U.S. intelligence reporting about the Hezbollah could attack and the military age males coming through. You don't hear much about Ukraine on the news anymore. It's now something else to take our attention from. But like I said, just keep your head on a swivel. We're at 28 minutes. Thanks for listening to my rant today. I promise tomorrow we will be back more to the legalese and talking about associations. So thank you very much. Let me see if I have the music keyed up. Hopefully I do. And I will see you on the next podcast. Peace.
To the streets. This is a dictator. Enemies of the state. Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
All right, maybe I'm not going to end. I cannot find my mouse. There we go. Too many screens, boy. This has been an interesting episode. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.